Hey guys, welcome to my 1-year review of my Jackson Insight WH-40 Auto Darkening Welding Helmet. Now this helmet's been pretty good to me over the past year, and this review is just going to kind of show you why. Now, I failed to do a comprehensive review of a welding helmet, especially an auto darkening one. It's just a lot easier to take it apart and show the separate components and all of that, and it's pretty easy to take this apart. You just see those two tabs right there, you pinch those and the whole lens assembly comes out. The only trouble I had with this helmet was actually, getting the lens assembly out. It was just a little stiff, I guess. It wasn't the smoothest action. It took me a little while, but I did manage to get it out, and it's not that difficult. Now with this review, as you can see, I have all the parts laid out. We're just going to be going left to right on here, so we're going to start with the shell and end with the clear lens. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to talk about here is the shell and the headgear. Now the shell of the helmet is a flexible plastic, which is honestly really nice. Took a little while to get used to just because I'm used to hard-shelled welding helmet. This one, because it's flexible, it essentially, you can drop it, you can do whatever, it can take a ton of abuse. Now, the good thing about this as well is that the lens size in this helmet is standard size, which I'll get into a little bit later in this review, but that means you can just replace it easily with the same shell because they make an impassive lens. Now, let's get into the headgear. So, the headgear, well, I haven't used many welding helmets. This headgear is probably some of the best I've ever used, just because I find it to be comfortable. The ratchet knob is pretty easy to use, and it doesn't, pull out a lot of my hairs when I'm trying to, take it on or off. And overall, I think the headgear and the shell are both pretty good. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to talk about here is the auto darkening lens. Now, while I fumbled to separate these two pieces, just want to give a quick mention that this video is not sponsored in any way by Jackson. I'm doing this completely on my own. I bought this helmet a year ago with cash that I had laying around. And I just really needed to get that out of the way in case people think that this was sponsored. I'm not being paid to say good things about Jackson. But as you can see here, it comes in two pieces. One of them is the bracket, which I'm about to show you, and essentially what this thing does is its function is to hold the lenses into the helmet and keep them from falling out. Now the lens itself is actually pretty good for an $120 helmet. Most of it's the lens. The helmet's only worth about 40 bucks. And as you can see here, I'm about to point out, we got the 4 arc sensors here. Now 4 arc sensors is really good, especially on a helmet this price, because of the fact that it makes the lens a lot more sensitive. And as you can see there, it also had a solar cell. But on the back is really where it's at. It's got a control panel, and obviously it's got the little light up display there, which you can change it from a grind mode to a weld mode. And the grind shade is a shade 4. I'd like it to be lighter, but beggars can't be choosers. But as you can see, the light's on next to grind mode when it's in grind mode, and it's off when it's in weld mode. Now the shades are shades 9 to 13, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 9 to 13. And you can cycle the shades, but one of the cool things about this helmet for the price is that you can also cycle the delay between the time when you stop welding and the helmet undarkens, and you can also adjust the sensitivity. So if you're doing some low amp TIG welding, you can set the sensitivity all the way up. But I prefer just to kind of keep it in the middle. It's also got some batteries, but because of the solar panel, I have never had to recharge it. Alright, just a quick word about the lens color. Now you can kind of see what it looks like through the camera in the looped background clip, but to my eyes, it appears to be kind of an amberish color more than green, kind of a mix between the two. If you buy it, you're going to have to let your eyes be the judge of that. If you don't like the green helmets, then buy something a little bit different. It might cost a little bit more, but anyways, that's all I really had to say about the lens color. Let's get right back into the review. Alright, the last thing that I'm going to talk about here is the clear plastic protective lens. This is the lens that protects the auto darkening lens from getting broken and getting destroyed. Now, it's a standard large size welding lens, which means that it's 4.5 inches by 5.25 inches. I don't know what that is in metric. I'm going to put a conversion just up on the screen now, what the dimensions are for it in the metric system, because I live in the US, so I really don't know the metric system all that well. Now, it's got this rubber outer layer thing, and as you see, I went off camera to struggle with it a little bit. Now, if you live somewhere with cold weather, like I do, you're going to want to either weld this for a little bit or just bring it inside, because it's going to be a lot harder to get the rubber protective layer, or rubber border, off if it's frozen solid. But as you can see, the rubber border comes off pretty easily, pretty flexible, pretty standard, and that's really all I have to say about the lens. Alright, so while I put this helmet back together in the background, I'm going to wrap up this review real quick. While this helmet does have some cons, being that the rubber border is a little hard to take off, and that the bracket for the actual auto-darkening lens can be hard to actually unclip from the inside of the helmet. Those are very minor things that are just me nitpicking at the helmet. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what you might run into with this helmet. The pros definitely outweigh the cons in this. The picture is clear. It's a lightweight helmet. Literally the heaviest thing about this thing is the headgear and the lens, like I've said previously. It takes standard clear lenses, which is also a really good thing. You don't have to buy them custom through Jackson. And the price is pretty good too for a helmet. It's a good brand. I'm not being paid to say that. I just really, really like Jackson's stuff. And it's their line of inexpensive auto-darkening welding helmets, and it's a lot better than those cheapo Harbor Freight ones that you can get. Now, one thing that I think that this is good for is someone who's upgrading from a passive lens on a budget, or someone who's just getting into welding, as in you bought your first welder. But anyways, that's going to wrap up the review here. If you like this video, please leave a like. It shows me that you want to see more of these videos, and it gives me the support to keep doing these. And as always, if you want to see more content like this, you can subscribe to my channel either down below or as always in the annotation, in the outro. But that's really it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
We'll be right back.